He told me he wasn't afraid of needles. He said it the way people always say it, a little too quickly, a little too firmly, like he was trying to convince both of us at once. He was sitting on the edge of the exam table with his arms crossed and his jaw set, and I remember thinking, "Okay, sweetheart, we'll see about that." His name was Daniel, mid-30s maybe, the kind of person who clearly spent a lot of time being competent at things. You could see it in the way he held himself, that particular posture of someone who is very rarely in a room where they don't know what they're doing. He was a contractor, built things for a living. His hands were, and I noticed this the way I always notice hands, broad, slightly rough at the knuckles, the kind of hands that know how to be useful. And they were absolutely, unmistakably trembling. It was a late Tuesday evening, the kind where the clinic has gone quiet and the overhead lights feel a little warmer than usual, like the building itself has exhaled. He'd come in for a vitamin B12 injection. His doctor had prescribed a course of them, intramuscular, once a week for a month. His regular nurse was out sick, so it was just me, a small room, and a man who was definitely not afraid of needles. "You can unfold your arms," I said. Not a command, just a suggestion. The way you'd say, "You can take off your coat" when someone comes in from the cold. He looked at me. He had very dark eyes, the kind that take a second to read. "I'm fine," he said. "I know," I said, "but the muscle I need is going to be a lot happier if you're not holding your whole body like a fist." He blinked, and then, slowly, like he was making a decision, he uncrossed his arms and set his hands on his knees. "Better," I said, and I meant it. Here's the thing about intramuscular injections that nobody really explains to patients. The needle isn't the hard part. The hard part is the muscle. If a muscle is tense, really tense, braced for impact, the medication going in feels like pressure, like something pushing against resistance. It can ache. It can linger. But a relaxed muscle barely notices. The whole thing is over before the tissue has time to form an opinion. So everything I do in those first few minutes is really just about the muscle. The conversation, the unhurried pace, the way I don't rattle the tray or snap my gloves on dramatically. All of it is for the muscle. The person is just along for the ride. I asked him about the project he was working on. He told me, a renovation, an old house in the suburbs, original hardwood floors that someone had painted over in the 90s. He had opinions about this, strong ones. The tension in his shoulders dropped about 10% as he talked, and I filed that away. I put on my gloves, nitrile, powder-free, and yes, they're cold for about 4 seconds, which is why I always warm them slightly between my palms first. Small thing. Patients notice, even when they don't say anything. For a gluteal intramuscular injection, which is what we were doing, the landmark matters enormously. You're not just picking a spot at random, you're finding the ventrogluteal site, which is the safest and most consistently reliable location. The side of the hip, essentially, where the muscle is thick and the major nerves and blood vessels have had the good sense to stay out of the way. I find it by placing my hand on the hip bone and locating the greater trochanter, the bony prominence you can feel just below, and working from there. It sounds technical. It feels, when you do it correctly, almost geometric, like finding a landmark on a map you've read 100 times. "Okay," I said. "I'm going to ask you to shift slightly toward me and let that hip go soft, like you're leaning into a wall." He did it. He was actually a very good patient once he stopped trying to be brave about it. I prepped the site, alcohol swab, let it dry completely, because wet alcohol stings, and there's no reason to add insult to injury. The needle I was using was 1.5 inches, which sounds alarming if you think about it too hard, so I find it's better not to mention the specifics. The gauge was appropriate for the viscosity of B12. It's a thick solution, slightly reddish, and it needs a needle that can move it without resistance. "Take a slow breath in," I said. He did. And out. And on the exhale, that specific moment when the body releases, when the diaphragm drops and the muscles follow, I went in. Smooth, deliberate, at a 90-degree angle to the skin. Not hesitant. Hesitation is what hurts. A clean, confident entry, then a brief aspiration check, pulling back the plunger just slightly to confirm I'm not in a vessel. And then the medication, slow and steady. About 10 seconds for the full dose, unhurried. He didn't move. "That's it?" he said after a moment. "That's it?" He turned his head to look at me over his shoulder, and there was something in his expression. Not quite disbelief, not quite relief. Something softer than either of those. "I didn't feel anything." "I know," I said, and I smiled, because I always do when that happens. It never gets old. I withdrew the needle at the same angle I'd entered, straight out, no angling, no dragging, and applied gentle pressure with a clean gauze pad. Not rubbing, just holding. Rubbing disperses the medication unevenly and can cause unnecessary irritation, and I've never understood why some people still do it out of habit. "You might feel a little soreness tomorrow," I told him as he carefully rearranged himself. "Like you worked out a muscle you forgot you had. That's normal. It means the medication is absorbing into the tissue the way it's supposed to." He nodded. He was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "Does it bother you, doing this all day?" I thought about that. Doing what? This, being the person with the needle, having people, he paused, looking for the word, be afraid of you. "They're not afraid of me," I said. "They're afraid of the idea of it. That's different." I pulled off my gloves and dropped them in the waste bin. Once it's actually happening, most people are fine. It's the anticipation that does it, the imagination. He considered this. "Huh. The imagination is always worse than the thing," I said. "That's basically the whole job, honestly. Convincing people that the real thing is survivable." He laughed, a real laugh, quiet and a little surprised, and I thought, there it is. That's the moment. Not the injection, not the technique. That. The laugh at the end, when the fear has passed and the person looks up and realizes they're still whole. Before he left, I mentioned, because it was relevant to his course of treatment, that B12 injections are typically prescribed when oral supplementation isn't absorbing properly, often due to a condition called pernicious anemia, or certain digestive issues that affect the stomach's ability to produce something called intrinsic factor. Without intrinsic factor, the B12 you eat just passes right through. The injection bypasses the whole digestive system entirely, goes straight into the muscle, straight into the bloodstream. It's elegant in its way. The body's stubbornness worked around. I also mentioned, because he'd mentioned feeling run down lately, that fatigue paired with B12 deficiency sometimes comes with other symptoms worth watching. Tingling in the hands or feet, mild memory fog, a slightly swollen tongue. Not to alarm him, just so he'd know what to notice, what to bring back to his doctor. That's the other part of the job, not just the doing of it, but the leaving someone with a little more information than they came in with. He thanked me at the door, shook my hand, Firmly, the way contractors do, like they're testing the joint. His hand was warm. "Same time next week?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. And then, almost as an afterthought, almost to himself, "Yeah, I think I can manage that." I watched him go down the hall, and I stood there for a moment in the quiet of the small room, the tray still on the counter, the overhead light doing its warm evening thing. The imagination is always worse than the thing. I've been saying that for years, and every time someone believes me, really believes me, in that exhale at the end, I think maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the whole point. I turned off the light and left the door open just a crack, the way I always do, just in case someone still needed to find their way in.